Well, we are finally back after a week-long vacation. Sorry, guys. I know you missed us, but we're back right now. What's going on? I'm Randall Thor 19, one of the co-hosts of the Xbox 2. Let me introduce the man, the myth, the legend, the reason why everybody tunes into the Xbox 2 podcast, one and only Jez Corden from Windows Central. What's going on, Jezzy?
Good, man. Pretty good. How are you, man? I was really sick yesterday, but had a day of sleeping it off, and now I feel all right. Wine and coffee, it is.
Yeah, I saw your tweet yesterday, and you're like, "I'm about to die. Ugh. I got food poisoning."
Yeah. Always check the sell-by date when you eat food, kids.
Yeah. So sorry we missed last week, but there wasn't really too much to talk about. We decided to just enjoy the week off, but we're back, and we're gonna be better than ever because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of things that have gone on in that time off that me and Jez have definitely some strong opinions about. In fact, Jez said, for all you already in here right now, he has some surprising information about the Xbox Scarlett stuff, right?
Oh, don't overhype it, man.
Oh,
it's not that surprising.
I mean,
But,
true.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's not. So Jez is going to reveal the release date, the price point, and all the launch games later on in the show for
Rise
the Xbox
2.
Scarlett. Yeah, Rise 2, Sunset Overdrive 2, Quantum Break 2, all confirmed to be launch games.
Yeah.
For the Xbox 2, all running in native 8K at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are actually going to go with that line and tweet me on Twitter or whatever. Anyways. Yeah. So we have a ton of stuff to talk about. Obviously, the Scarlett streaming device and the XCloud stuff. Jez has some kind of inside information, a little bit, maybe some. We'll talk about all that stuff. Halo got a second developer for Halo Infinite, which I don't know if that's really surprising, as it seems a lot of games have more than one developer on it. Forza gets rid of loot boxes, right as Gran Turismo Sport adds microtransactions. Like, kind of weird. They happen in the same, week. Crackdown 3. God, I hate talking about Crackdown 3. I honestly do. It's why I didn't make a separate video. But apparently Crackdown 3 is finished, Jez. I don't know. I saw your article on Windows Central. Or close enough to being finished, I guess. Right?
Yep.
So we'll talk about that. And I don't know, a whole bunch more. There's always stuff to talk about. As always, you can leave your questions in chat, and we'll answer some of the stuff. But before we get into all the juicy topics, Jez, I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about No Man's Sky, because it's finally available on Xbox One.
Yeah.
And you played a lot of it. It fixed your gamer score because of all those odd number achievements it has.
Yes, indeed.
So was it worth the wait? Was it worth the 2 years, coming over from PlayStation to Xbox? Or is it I don't know. It's still not a good game, because that's what people said back when it came out originally, was that it lacked a ton of content. They lied about a whole bunch of stuff, and it really wasn't worth playing.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of followed the game when it was first announced, and all the hype about that game was just off the charts. I've got it on Steam, played it a little bit on Steam, and I just kind of dropped it like a brick for two reasons. A, it was really poorly optimized for my hardware. I didn't have the most powerful PC back then, but it should have crushed No Man's Sky, and it just didn't. And I hear still that it's not that optimized even now on PC, which ain't great to hear. And even on Xbox One X, I've still been having frame rate issues here and there, especially on the 4K mode. On the 4K mode, I can get about 15 frames per second on No Man's Sky.
Yeah, it doesn't. I've seen that. It doesn't run well in the 4K mode, right?
No, it doesn't. It still doesn't run well. So there's still polish to be done, and it is you often see these frame rate issues with these huge procedurally generated games, because there's just so much stuff, so much randomly generated stuff that maybe sometimes they need to tweak the algorithm to make less stuff get generated so that the consoles don't get overloaded and stuff like that. But like in performance mode, it runs pretty well on Xbox, like not terribly. But the main headline isn't really about the performance or the visuals. It's all about the content they've added, the systems they've added, and stuff like actually having multiplayer.
Yeah.
That was the biggest lie, I think, that the no man's lie that people said, that it was this game, it was supposed to be an MMO essentially with connected servers and like a huge galaxy where you'd see people and meet people, but there was no way to actually play with anyone. And when you did actually see people in game, they were just like these floating markers. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that was the case. I don't really remember that well because, like I say, we weren't covering No Man's Sky at the time. So it slipped off my radar really fast. And I just thought, that's it. Dead and done and gone. And I remember there was this fake news story I remember from the time that people circulated. And I thought it was real for a little while, but it was fake news. That the Hello Games had actually closed down and that Sean Murray took the money and run. And like the fake news article had this like boarded up building and stuff, and it was like, this is Hello Games, it's shut down and stuff like that. And
well, I remember because when the game came out, they disappeared off of Twitter for like
they did. They went
months.
silent.
Yeah,
I think like they just decided that they weren't good at doing their own PR, so it was better to just sort of disappear and actually just make the game that they had promised. And in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like they probably have. I haven't actually gone back and analyzed all the lies because I remember seeing a thread on Reddit back in 2016, which was like, it was literally a list with sources of 50 lies that they had said about the game, features that were going to be in the game that didn't materialize, or implied that were going to be in the game that didn't materialize. So it'd be interesting to go back and research just how much of those promises have actually been made now. But in any case, judging it on its merits as a 2018 game, I've been having a blast with it, man. I've been really having a lot of fun with it.
do you think it warrants the $50 price tag? Because this is a game you could get on PC for like $10. You could get it on PlayStation for super cheap because it's obviously been out for 2 years. Do you think it's worth the $50 price tag that they want for it on Xbox?
Hey, I've seen this argument as well. Like it should be the same price as the PS4 version because it's technically not a new game. But I don't know. I can see both sides of the argument, right?
I don't know. It's just like usually when when a console gets a port of a game that's a year later or 2 years later, you don't expect it to be full price. You know, you expect it to be at least maybe half, maybe a little bit more than half. And this is like roughly full price. It's like, I don't know about that, you know?
For sure, but it's a bit of a weird situation because like the game is very, very different to the one that was launched back in 2016. And like it's almost kind of like it's almost like a relaunch in some ways. So I can see it from their point of view that they want to release it at a higher price point. But like at the same time, I can sort of see it from the other point of view that but it's so much cheaper on these other platforms, like, and it's just sort of for Steam and PlayStation, it's just come down as a free update. Whereas we're sort of on Xbox paying for it like as it's new or something. So, you know, I can see it from both ways. And like they are a small studio. They don't have like this huge publisher backing. So on the one end of the story, I kind of feel like they deserve to be rewarded for their hard work in sticking with the game. They could have just abandoned it. They could have just left it to rot. And, you know, and so many, even big publishers have done that, man. Like, look at EA with Mass Effect Andromeda. And Mass Effect Andromeda only made a few millions, not millions and millions. And they just left the story unfinished, cancelled all the story DLC, and just like, okay, this isn't going to buy me a new yacht this year, so let's abandon the whole game and shut down the studio that made it. They could have done that, but they stuck with the game. They delivered a lot of their core promises, and No Man's Sky is still a technically impressive game that offers unique things that no other game does really in the same degree. So I don't know. I can see it from both ends. How do you feel about that, Ren?
See, here's the thing. I wasn't interested in No Man's Sky back on the PS4 in 2016. I'm certainly not interested in it even now. You know what I mean? Like I know that type of game, that genre of game, it just doesn't. I don't know. Like it doesn't do anything for me. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, now it's coming to Xbox, so I love it. You know what I mean?
I
Like
know for sure.
I
I've
just
been saying this like I've been saying this all week. You know, forget the hype. You really need to be the kind of person who likes this kind of game. If you don't like Conan Exiles, if you don't like Minecraft, if you don't like those sorts of crafting, building, creative sort of games, if you don't like Elite Dangerous either, you ain't gonna like No Man's Sky. It doesn't do anything better than those other games, really. It's got great building mechanics, so does Conan Exiles. It's got great sort of procedurally generated adventures, so does Minecraft. If you don't like those mechanics, you ain't gonna like No Man's Sky. It's very much a kind of game for a specific type of gamer. Luckily, I'm the kind of gamer that enjoys Conan Exiles and Minecraft and that sort of
yeah,
thing.
and probably like Ark and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, it looks nice, and I always kind of like the idea of like a huge infinite world that they was just randomly generated, but like what you actually did in the game, just those type of experiences never appealed to me. So I didn't
It's like
care.
not really a this is going to be a weird thing to say, but it's not really a gamer's game. I don't really play Conan Exiles or No Man's Sky to feel like I'm having a lot of fun playing a game. I play them kind of to relax. Like No Man's Sky has like quite relaxing music and relaxing gameplay loops. Minecraft has really relaxing music too, and sometimes I just like dropping down in the world, exploring, seeing the weird stuff the game creates. Like you've seen some of the screenshots, some of the random stuff that can happen in this game is absolutely crazy. And sometimes I just like building things and just sort of like empty my head. It's kind of like watching reality TV. Like after a really hard day at work, what all I've been doing is analyzing and thinking and being creative. Sometimes I just want to empty my brain and do some grinding. And like Elite Dangerous and Conan Exiles and No Man's Sky are those perfect kind of games for me. So like I love it, I love space, Rand. I love aliens. What's not to love? It's Conan
Right, and
Exiles in space.
I'm sure if Roby was around and not in Japan, you guys would have been playing that a lot on the morning mixer because it has the multiplayer.
Oh yeah. And the multiplayer works. It actually works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could see people like wanting to check it out because they enjoy the concept. Plus, playing with your friends is a good pull.
Yeah.
Luckily, none of my friends are interested in No Man's Sky either. Even though I do have the game,
The weird
I
thing is
quickly
like
uninstalled it. Like I got the game, uninstalled the game because I know I'm never going to play it.
because of the Chivos, right?
Not necessarily for the Chivos. I just don't like those type of games. Um, but so I mean, I don't know. Would you recommend it to people
I
who
would
didn't experience the game on PlayStation 4 and the PC back in 2 years ago? Do you think it's worth the
I would only recommend
$50?
it to people who if you really like Elite Dangerous and you really like Conan Exiles and you really like Minecraft, I would highly recommend it. But if you hate those games and find them grindy and too passive a lot of the time, I would skip it, because it doesn't really have it has a story sort of, but it's all text based and a lot of the time spent is just flying. The story is actually kind of interesting, but it's all text based. It's not like a cinematic sort of thing that you're gonna like be blown away by. It's just sort of an interesting thing to guide you through the game's different mechanics and stuff like that. But um, as a space game, like building your base and grinding mats, manipulating the economy, and doing all those space sort of simulation games, it's sort of like if Conan Exiles and Elite Dangerous smashed together and you got this sort of spacey sim version of Conan Exiles. So if you like those two games, you'll love it. If you hate either of those games or Ark Survival Evolved or anything like that, you're gonna hate No Man's Sky as well, probably. I would say,
Yeah.
unless you really like space.
So
But there's
other than
better
No Man's
games.
Sky, what have you been playing, buddy?
I've been playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
again.
what's going on with that? People are pissed. Like,
Yeah, man.
I saw something, and I don't know nothing about
People-
World of Warcraft, but like,
People
Horde
have
of
stopped being
Thor
pissed now.
and the Alliance and all this stuff, and they turn good guys into bad guys or something. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to go into it too much because I don't think there's that many people
Yeah,
interested.
no,
in
how many
the
people?
podcast, but-
Yeah, I wonder how many people in chat right now care about World of Warcraft. But it is something that I know, and I don't care about World of Warcraft. But people are like, I know,
It's still a
they're
huge
not,
game.
they're not evil or whatever. I don't know.
Well, one of the main heroes in Warcraft since like Warcraft 3, she did something despicably evil, and in a cinematic in the game, in a time limited quest, which is only available as a pre-event to the next expansion. She did something insanely evil, and people were surprised. But like Blizzard released another cinematic today, which sort of added a bit more context to what was going on. So people have sort of gone, oh, I see, I kind of see where they're going with this now. So like the anger has subsided a bit. I don't know if Blizzard intended to release that cinematic so early, or if they just did it because they were like, you know what, we need something to take their mind off this now, because it was started becoming a bit of a meme. So it's been controversial, and Blizzard has they've done a really good job at bringing attention to the story. Like you say, you're not into Warcraft, but you heard about everyone being pissed off, right?
Yeah, I definitely
There's
did.
a lot of fun memes, man. Basically, they destroyed part of the game that has been there for almost 15 years. The magical tree where the night elves live has been burnt down.
And did people freaked out, huh? How's the Warcraft Reddit taking that? I bet you it's like
a lot of memes.
Yeah, memes everywhere. Just like the new Xbox Game Pass Twitter, nothing but memes.
Oh god, yeah, that
nothing but memes all over the place.
The marketing campaign for Game Pass is hilarious.
Yeah, we might talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I wonder who runs that account and what the qualifications were. Did you have to be up to date on memes going around? Because that's what it seems to be.
It's like, oh god. Oh, we'll talk about it later. But what else have I been playing? Rand, I've been playing Pokemon.
Oh Jesus Christ!
I've been playing. I got a 2DS XL. I don't know if we talked about it on a previous show, but I wanted, because with Gamescom coming up, right? A lot of Gamescom and E3 is queuing. Now, one of the things I always see people doing at Gamescom and E3 is playing on a Nintendo DS while they're queuing. And I thought, you know what? That's smart. I'm going to get in on that. I'm going to get a DS. And instead of being bored while queuing, I'm going to play games while queuing, because that's smart. So I got 2DS. I really like it. The hardware is really good. And it costs like $150-ish US, which is really great price point, I think. And it doesn't have the 3D stuff, but it doesn't matter because 3D stuff's lame. And but I've been playing through all the Pokemon games. I played Pokemon Blue. I'm playing Pokemon Gold right now. I played a bit of Alpha Sapphire. I got Pokemon Black, Pokemon White 2. I got Pokemon X. I got Pokemon Moon.
I have no idea what you're talking about. At least with Warcraft, I know who the Horde is and the Alliance and stuff. You're mentioning all this Pokemon stuff, and I don't know anything about Pokemon. No, nothing.
Pokemon Diamond as well.
I know Pikachu. Okay, I know Pikachu and Bulbasaur.
You were never into Pokemon.
No,
are you like were you slightly too old for it? Because when I was a little kid,
yes,
Pokemon came out when I was about 11 or 12, and
I'm too old.
It was inescapable, man. Every kid at my school got a Game Boy. They were bashing out Pokemon Red and Blue, fighting in the playground with the little link cables. It was great, man. It was absolutely great. And then the cards came out. Everyone just went crazy for the cards. People were using the IT room to print fake cards and then try and sell them.
Dude, literally,
crazy.
When you talk about Pokemon and when Nintendo talks about Pokemon and shows that stuff, and when they did that press conference, my eyes just glaze over because I literally just looked at that and was like,
I'm actually heartbroken for you that you can't, because you're slightly too old to have gotten on the Pokemon train. There's so much joy in Pokemon, man.
Is there? Is there? I mean,
there is. I've connected because like I got back into Pokemon, right? And I got my brother to post my copy of Pokemon Diamond from the UK, and I think that came out when I was like 17, 18-ish. And it's like a time capsule, man, looking into my past, because it's like Pokemon named after friends I used to know, WWE wrestlers, and stuff, and like memes from like 10 years ago or more. You know, it's like a time capsule, man.
I'm too old. I'm too old. I don't like Pokemon, and this maybe it's one of the reasons I don't like like everything. Look, everything. I care about what Microsoft does in the games they put out. Like I care about what the games that Sony puts out because it interests me. Every time I watch like a Nintendo Direct or anything people talk about Nintendo, I just don't care at all. Like I have no feeling either way. You know what I mean? Like there's no like.
I'm not a huge Nintendo guy like Mario and Zelda.
What's the word I'm looking for? Apathy. I have no apathy.
Apathy.
Like it's just like Nintendo does this stuff, and I'm just like, I have no strong feelings either way. It's like I don't care. Like they could leave the video game industry tomorrow, and I wouldn't notice. I wouldn't care.
Oh wow, come on.
That's a little harsh to say. I mean, like, look,
it's harsh, man.
Dude, look, but
you watch, man. When Pokemon for the Switch comes out, that's it, man. Console war is done.
Look, I understand Pokemon is huge. Like, trust me, I get it. One of my friends is like so far into like Pokemon Go, it's ridiculous. But for me,
sucks.
For me, now I always gotta say that for me, and I know I'm gonna get hated on in chat. They could leave the video game industry tomorrow, nothing would change for me. Period. Like nothing would change. Like I don't know. Their games just don't resonate with me. Maybe it's because I didn't grow up with them. Sure, I had an NES, but I moved on. Like I was like a Sega kid, and then a PlayStation guy, then an Xbox guy. Like so, none of those franchises hold any sort of like they don't like tug at my heart. So like if they were to drop out tomorrow, I'd be like, all right, whatever, you know. And I'm sure other people would be like, what do you? No, I need my Zelda. I need my Pokemon. And oh god, like what would happen to Metroid? But you know, I don't know. I wouldn't shed a tear. But
and like I'm not a huge Nintendo guy either. Like I don't like Mario. I don't really care about Zelda. But like Super Metroid is like one of the games that I was in hospital for several months when I was a kid because I had sepsis. And so I played Super Metroid so much in hospital. It was just like even though I was really ill, it's one of my fondest memories, just spending half a year playing Metroid. And Pokemon too. Like I just love Pokemon. Yeah. It's kind of sad, but like, there's just something about it, man. It's partially nostalgia. It's partially just like again, it's partially just the mindless grinding stuff again. Like going from trainer to trainer, doing the turn-based battles, and because it's turn-based as well, it's a great game for multitasking. So. I don't know, man. I just love that.
And look, so shout out to Mighty Ryan for the super chat. He says, "Play Breath of the Wild. It's great. I do own the game and I will play it." But I see some people saying it's a fanboyish combat fanboy. It's nothing to do with fanboys. It's like I don't hate Nintendo because I like Xbox. It has nothing to do with that. It's just I just don't care for anything Nintendo does, and it's just and it like if you told me, and I've seen someone say it in chat already. I wouldn't shed a tear if Xbox left instead of Nintendo. I would. Okay, that's how you feel. Like, who am I to say anything different? That's how you feel. You know, I'm sure there are people out there who don't care for PlayStation and wouldn't care if they left. I'm just saying, like, Nintendo does nothing for me. So I don't know. Like, so when we talk about all this stuff,
I have to say, I've never been attacked by an angry Nintendo mob. So I think you're safe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really have many Nintendo fans on the channel because I don't really talk about them. But I'm not hating. I'm not saying Nintendo sucks. I'm just saying.
Don't you own a Switch?
I do own a Switch.
Do you play Octopath Traveler?
No, I don't. I don't really care for that RPG.
Oh, everyone's going crazy about that game.
Well, I know it just sold 1 million copies, and apparently it's a very good game. So I'm glad it's getting the the sales it deserves. And look, so just so if somebody clips this and puts this on Twitter, I don't hate Nintendo. I'm just indifferent to what they do. So it doesn't, like, they could leave tomorrow, it wouldn't matter to me, or they could sell 200 million units and it wouldn't matter to me. I don't know. I like what I like. Everybody else likes what they like. Jez likes Pokemon, for Christ's sake. Who likes Pokemon? Well, a lot of people do. I like achievements, and that's weird, right? Right? That's weird.
It is weird, actually, because I don't give the slightest damn about achievements. Now, if they removed achievements from Xbox, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. It wouldn't bother me in the slightest.
So, Pokemon, World of Warcraft, and No Man's Sky for you. Is that pretty much what the last 2 weeks have covered?
Pretty much, man. No Man's Sky, Pokemon, and I played a bit of Castlevania on the 2DS too. I can't remember which one.
Right.
But, that's it.
So,
what have you been playing, man? Run us through.
I'm playing Dead Cells right now for review next week.
I'm jealous. That game looks great.
Yeah, so my review will be out Monday. Can't wait to talk about it. And I'm really enjoying what I'm playing. Can't really give a score or anything, but I'm very positive on the game. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I'm also playing Overcooked 2 for review as well. I have a video out for that next week. I need someone to play multiplayer with, because Overcooked 2, the first one, was pretty interesting, party game, and this one has online, but nobody has it yet, so it's kind of hard to do a video or review for. So those are what I'm currently playing. Also been playing PUBG here and there, obviously winning games as we do as the group. Magic and Gopher, Maka, shout out to you guys. We won 4 games last night, dominated. I also played Vigor, the Xbox exclusive.
Tell us about Vigor, Rand, because I don't know. I've seen this game referenced a bit. I don't know anything about it besides the fact that it's made by the devs of DayZ, right?
Yes, it is made by Bohemia Interactive, the developers of DayZ, which is coincidentally also making its way to game preview soon. It's currently available to I think Microsoft employees, because I see Phil and Major Nelson all playing it and stuff. So, Vigor is a survival game. You
One of those these days.
Yeah, but it's not a battle royale game. It's a survival game. It's 1991. The nuclear war is over, and it's set in Norway. And when you start up, you pick your character. You go out and you loot, and you get instance on a map with anywhere between 8 and 16 players. But you don't know where anybody is. You don't know how many people are in the game with you, and when people die, they don't show a kill feed. So it's kind of you got to be careful. And the whole point of it is you go around and you loot the houses and you loot cars, and you get ammo for your guns or guns themselves, or
PUBG right now, man.
Yeah, not really, not at all. You get crafting materials, because that's the big thing here. Is you want to loot everything to get your crafting materials so you can bring them back to your safe house. And once you feel like you have enough, there are 5 exit points, and you can exit the map at any point in time. You could literally load into the map, loot one thing, and go to the exit and leave. The game, doesn't prevent you from doing or stopping you from doing that. But of course, there's other people there, and you obviously can get in firefights, take all their stuff. And if you die, all the stuff that you had is gone forever. You lose it completely. So there's a little bit of the risk reward of how long I want to loot in this area to get stuff, and if I have enough to leave, because if you bring your favorite weapon with you, if you bring all the ammo that you have, and you die, well, it's all gone, right? And then in your safe house, I mean, it's in game preview, so they're obviously adding a lot of stuff. You can craft better workbenches to craft more weapons and attachments and things like that. Unfortunately, in a game that is has a heavy focus on shooting, I expect the shooting to be good, and the shooting is very awkward and clumsy. It feels like the shooting from a game that would be a B tier game or a C tier game on the 360. I feel like I'm fighting with the controller, and I feel like all of the fights are just toss-ups, a coin toss between who wins, because the aiming is that bad and the gunplay is that bad. And I'm not really a fan of the gameplay loop, because the gameplay loop, is essentially you load into a map to loot stuff, to find craftable materials to bring back to your base, which then you craft stuff, and then you go back out to find stuff to get more crafting materials to go then back to your base to craft more stuff to go back out. There's really no like ultimate goal. I'm like, and I know people, because I said that in my review, and people were like, well, there's no goal to Call of Duty or Battlefield or PUBG. It's like, are you dense? Because the goal to Call of Duty, Battlefield, and PUBG is to win. It's a matchmake-based game. The whole point is to win. It's to be better than everybody else. Vigor doesn't have that. Like, why do I want to craft stuff? Like, what's the point? What's the ultimate end goal? In Call of Duty, like, I keep on playing, I get better weapons, and the point is those things are supposed to help me win the fucking game. That's the whole point.
Well, isn't it like the whole Sea of Thieves thing, that the point is that you make your own emergent sort of narrative, kind of like with DayZ? Like, DayZ didn't have a point. It was just like the sort of crazy stuff that could happen in the game was the point.
I mean, for Sea of Thieves, yes, sure, you could make that argument. I don't think you necessarily can make the argument for this one because you can't team up with anybody, so it's just you solo. And like you see a person and they're like dead in 2 seconds or 3 seconds when you start shooting. I don't know what emergent storytelling you're going to be telling. And since you can only play on 2 maps at a time, you're going to be constantly running the same maps over and over, knowing exactly where all the lootable locations are and exactly where people spawn. So to me, there was no compelling reason to keep on playing after I played like 8 matches because I like saw everything. And there's, you know what I mean? Like the fact that you can craft better weapons, but then like bring it into the game with you and then lose it is just like, But I guess like you win if you loot one thing and leave. I guess you win because you didn't die. I guess not dying is winning. But either way, it's really not enjoyable because of the gunplay. That's what makes it not fun. But of course, it's in game preview.
I saw some clip on Twitter of like 2 guys. I think the Red Dragon tweet. I think. Just 2 guys sort of crab walking left and right, trying to shoot each other, and the bullets just spraying all over the place, not landing.
Yeah,
it looked bad.
Yeah, it's not good. That's the main reason. Like the gameplay loop would be fine if it was actually fun to get into firefights. So I mean, it's in game preview. I'm not going to score it. I just like gave my impressions. There's a 2-hour trial. You could try it out for yourself and see. I would recommend waiting until the game's out of game preview to see what they actually do with everything. So, and it will be free to play, even though right now the only way to play it is buy the Founders Pack, which is $20. It will be free to play to everybody February of next year. So I would wait.
Will you be testing it vigorously next year?
No, I already uninstalled it. Because there's no point in playing it until it's finished.
Man, I just wanted to make a pun.
I know you did. But I also played Yakuza 0.
All right. That hit PC, right? As well.
Yes,
the fact that it hit PC was a big deal, I think.
Yes, because previously it was only on PlayStation. But so I finally decided, you know what? I needed a game to play after I finished up the Crew 2. So I finished the Crew 2. The only stuff I've left at in the grindy stuff, I beat the campaign. I didn't do a review for it because, you know what? I didn't feel like it. Crew 2 was an okay experience. I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10. It so wants to be Forza Horizon, and it just doesn't live up to it. But I finished it. I did all the races and all that stuff and beat all the bosses. So I was like, okay, what do I play next? I have this expansive backlog, not only on Xbox, but also on PlayStation. And my buddy Lovebug Gopher, who's in chat, has been dying for me to play Yakuza 0, right? He's like, play Yakuza, play Yakuza, play Yakuza, play Yakuza. Because I bought like Yakuza Kiwami when it was on sale, and he's like, I bought Yakuza 0 when it was on sale, and he's like, play it, play it, play it. He also wants me to play Persona 5. Like, I have 200 hours right now to devote to Persona 5, you know? So he's trying to get me to play all these games. And he got into Warframe, right? And he's loving Warframe. So he stopped playing PUBG. And it's not fun to play PUBG without Gopher. You know what I mean? He's like a vital cog in the wheel.
You mean he carries you?
No, it's just better to play with him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because
I know what you mean.
there's some elements there, but it's better to play with Gopher than without Gopher in PUBG.
Better to play. You get more dinners with.
Yes, you could definitely get more dinners. But he didn't want to play it anymore because he doesn't like the new patch, right?
What did the patch change?
It added a whole bunch of recoil and a whole bunch of different stuff that he wasn't a fan of. So he's like, I'm done with PUBG. I'm playing Warframe. So like, I was like, I'm trying to decide what my next big game is going to be, and then Gopher's like not playing PUBG. So I'm like, all right, I'll make a deal with you. You play PUBG whenever I want, and the next game I play is Yakuza 0. And he was like, oh. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'll play Yakuza 0 if you play this. And he's like, okay. So I started up Yakuza 0, and it's actually quite enjoyable. I didn't know what to expect going into it, but man,
I don't know much about it either. But isn't it like GTA? Or no?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
What am I thinking of? Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
What is it like then? Tell us.
So it's like this. It's part movie because honestly, I'm sure there's people in here who played Yakuza 0. You will be watching and reading a shit ton because there are so many cutscenes and just so much dialogue. And considering it's all in Japanese, you have to obviously read it all on screen. So it's just like Japanese soap opera about a guy who is in the Yakuza, and he kind of gets framed for something, and it's this whole like interesting story of these Yakuza bosses. I haven't really gotten that far into it. I think I'm on like chapter 6 or 7, but the main story is incredibly interesting and really well done. So there's that to like look forward to. The combat of what you actually do, it's like an arcade brawler. So like you actually like beat people up, right? That's kind of like what you do. That's kind of like the interaction you have, because it's set in this like open world Tokyo, and you like run around to all these different like places. When they'd be like, hey, go to the payphone, and you go to the payphone to do stuff, and on the way you might have to beat people up. And
that's why I thought it was like GTA because of the open world stuff.
Yeah, but it's not that big of an open world. So then you like beat people up, and the combat's fun. It's got some real brutal stuff to it, and I don't know, man. Like it's an enjoyable experience. Although it's also one that it's very slow. Like so much watching, so much reading that like I only can really play for a few hours at a time. Just because, like, and look, I'm one who likes cutscenes and story in my games, but I'm sitting there and sometimes I just want to play, like 30 minutes of watching this stuff. Like it's like, okay, just put me into the game. I want to find out what's going on with the story. Then they have a whole bunch of side missions. Some of them are funny, some of them aren't. Some of them are just plain old boring. I think when I was doing like chapter 2, like I was telling Go for this, I was doing chapter 2, and I wanted to kill myself because of how boring it was. I was literally going to stop playing the game. It was that boring. Like they wanted me to run around this place to look for a specific person, and then after that, I had to go get like all these different types of alcohol for these homeless drunks. But each one of the alcohols is sold in a different convenience store. And I'm just doing this stuff. I'm like, what am I doing this for? Like, this one guy wants sake. This one guy wants scotch. And then I'm like doing these side missions where I'm pretending to be a TV producer. And it's just so over the top ridiculous that I'm just like, okay, this is dumb. Like, this is dumb, right? But like outside of that, like the main story is what I'm really focused on. It's really fun, so I'll get that finished up and do a video about it. So that's been my gaming week. That's been what I've been playing for the last couple weeks, basically. So yeah, that's a lot of game talk. We play a lot of games here. So
a lot of video games like Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all. I wish we could just have a whole episode dedicated to Pokemon.
Yeah, and there is, I don't know much Japanese, but I now know one word because they say it a lot in Yakuza, and that's Nani?
That means
Nani?
That means
Nani? That means what? Yeah. I don't know.
Is the game in Japanese?
Yes, it's all in Japanese.
Oh wow. I might have to play it then. For that reason alone.
Nani?
My inner weeaboos forcing me to play it now.
And in some instances the game looks really good. Like really good. Like those high quality cinematics where I'm just like glued to the screen, but then it like shifts into like the traditional like in-game model and it doesn't look as good. And then so it's like 3 different types of like cinematic or cutscenes where it's like really high quality with great voice acting, and then like the in-game models with pretty good voice acting and a lot of reading, and then like just text. And I'm like, oh god, I'm like, okay, skip. Let me read all this stuff as fast as I can. Nani? So that's my thoughts on
you like anime?
No, I mean, define anime. Like I watched Dragon Ball Z with my brother when he was growing up. But I don't like. I have to listen to Gopher and Magic and all them talk about My Hero Academia, and like what are the other nonsense that they watch? Like because they're seriously they come to the party.
I'm gonna podcast with those guys.
They come into the party and they'd be like Magic. Did you watch last night's My Hero Academia? I'd be like, yeah. Like talk about it for 10 minutes, man. And I'm just like, oh, anime talk, please. Whatever.
Shout out to Lashman if he's listening to this.
Yeah.
He doesn't like anime either.
Anime.
So, basically, I was going to suggest or pitch to you, Rand, that we actually turn this into an anime podcast, and you're telling me now that wouldn't work.
No, it definitely you'd have to get Gopher to do that. But
me and Gopher are gonna be tight anime bros.
Let's transition into the topics that we want to discuss, and let's go first with the microtransactions before we hit up the Scarlett stuff. Forza. Now, you would consider this to be great news, right? Jez?
Yeah, I mean, well, full disclosure, I don't know much about Forza. I don't know much about its microtransactions. I have a dude on Windows Central who handles all the Forza stuff because I don't like racing games. So you're going to have to fill me in, Rand.
So Forza 7 had a loot box system where it would give you like cars sometimes, but normally like different like settings to change in your race, like from day to night, or maybe make it a little bit harder and you get more money. You could never buy the loot boxes with real money though. It was all bought with in-game currency. And I always thought like the loot box system in Forza was dumb anyways. And a lot of reviewers out there, a lot of people gave Microsoft and Turn 10 a lot of shit for having it in there. And a lot of people incorrectly said that, hey, you can buy it with real money, which you can't. They also have DLC car packs. They sell like a season pass of cars, like for $7, and I think they get you about 12 cars. Well, Alan Harron went on to the website and was like, they take player feedback seriously. We've all heard the talk that all of Turn 10 is still on Forza 7, right, Jez? Like they haven't moved on to Forza Motorsport 8 yet.
Yes.
That they're still working and trying to make the game better and whatnot. So they said like they've heard the player feedback and they heard that loot boxes affect the gameplay too much, and that they wanted to get rid of it, but it would take some time. So later this year they would remove the prize crates from the game. And that they also would be removing the token system. So the token system was you could buy cars, and I know you could in Forza Horizon. I'm not sure if you could in Forza Motorsport 7, but they do say it in the article, so maybe you can. So it was like 700 tokens for $1, say, right? And then you could buy all the way up to like 50,000 tokens for $20. And then a car would be like, you could buy it with in-game currency at 30,000 in-game currency. But if you want, you could give us this tokens and it would cost you 200, right? So you could buy it with real world money to kind of like, hey, I just want the car now. So they're getting rid of loot boxes and they're getting rid of the the tokens. So they're not going to be in Forza Horizon 4, and they're no longer going to be in Forza Motorsport 7. So all good stuff. People don't like loot boxes anymore. I don't know if they're going out of style. Like nobody in gaming is really talking about loot boxes anymore. You notice that? Like they all kind of shifted away from it. And so that was great. You know, okay, getting rid of loot boxes, cool. And then like the same week, it's funny because Gran Turismo then added microtransactions to the game, right? Which, look, there's nothing inherently bad with microtransactions, at least to me. It's all about how you implement the microtransactions in your game, right? And the way Gran Turismo did it is the same way Forza did it with their prize tokens. It was, you could pay with in-game currency, or you could now give them $1 and you could buy the car. So it was optional, time saver type stuff. But the thing is that, and I think this is the reason people got upset, was because the producer, Gran Turismo Sport, said there would never be microtransactions in Gran Turismo Sport. Like before the launch of the game, he's like, everything's going to be free cars, free DLC, free maps, and all this stuff, and there'll be no microtransactions. So I think that's the reason people got upset about it, or at least the double standard existed, because there was tons of people hating on Forza for having the loot box stuff and wrongly saying that you could pay for it with actual real money when you can't. That like we're kind of defending this decision. Like I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't really consider like an optional thing like to be wrong. So them, offering, hey, you want to buy this car for $1, as long as they don't like increase the grind, like they give you less money as you play, it's not that big of a deal. But I think it only became news because they said it was never going to have DLC or microtransactions in the first place. What do you think?
I don't know, man. I mean, first of all, these cars you can get with real money, do they impact the gameplay, or is it just?
Well, I mean, it would be like any other like car. I mean, the faster the car, the better it is, right? Or I mean, you know what I mean?
Are they randomized?
What do you mean? Are they randomized?
I mean, can a rich player basically just buy his way to end game content? I don't understand how it works. Like, for the reasons people got so mad about Battlefront 2, right, is because, in theory, a rich player could dump, dozens of dollars or hundreds of dollars on microtransactions and get a very powerful character far faster than someone not spending money. So, which effectively creates a class system in the game where rich people are more powerful than poor people. Now, is that the case with Gran Turismo Sport and Forza's old microtransactions? Does it even matter because it's not so much of a competitive game? Well, I mean, I personally like you. It's like with microtransactions, it's implementation. Like with Overwatch's loot crates, yeah, it's kind of like it's manipulative the way they explode in all these colors and you get cool stuff, and it sort of preys on that sort of gambling addiction, like that some people just have deep down in their psyche, trying to get them endorphins released and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, it doesn't affect gameplay, and also Overwatch delivers a ton of free content because of the revenue they make from that. So I'm okay with that to a degree. Whereas with Battlefront 2, they were trying to over-incentivize loot crate payments by saying, not only will you make your character look different, you'll be more powerful as well. And
I mean, like, races are tiered. So, like, you can't race, like, a super expensive car versus a crappy car. Like, like, they're all kind of tiered into classes. And I know Gran Turismo, they don't allow you to buy the best cars, like, outright with real money. And honestly, it's a racing game. So even if you buy a faster car, if you don't know how to drive it, you're probably going to lose. So at the end of the day, it'll come down to skill. Who's the better driver? Because since all the cars have to be in the same class, you know what I mean? Or who has the better tuning setup and stuff like that. I'm just kind of happy to see Microsoft because Microsoft was one of the publishers very much heavy into loot boxes, right? We agree on this. Like all their games featured it. Halo 5 at the Rec system, Gears 4 with the Gears crates, Forza with the loot boxes or prize crates, which they didn't charge money for. But then suddenly, even Halo Wars 2, right? Didn't Halo Wars 2 have the cards you could buy for Blitz mode?
Yeah, that was all like in a completely separate mode.
Right. And I mean, yeah, Halo 5.
I'm sure that was going to be spun out into a free-to-play game.
But suddenly after Battlefront comes out and all the stuff kind of went, left, Sea of Thieves, no microtransactions, no loot boxes, and a pirate game, which you thought for sure would have loot boxes. State of Decay, no loot boxes, no microtransactions, really. Now you have them removing the tokens and the loot box system from Forza Motorsport 7 and Forza Horizon 4. Like, is Microsoft suddenly, like, shifting away from all this stuff, or is this just specifically for these current games? Like, I guess my question would be, is Gears 5 going to have Gears crates, and is Halo Infinite going to have the Rec system or some variant of it in the future?
Well, I think we've actually talked about this before, and I think it was you, actually, who made the point that they found an alternative revenue stream in Xbox Game Pass. So, if Xbox Game Pass offsets the cost of these loot crates, and if people feel like, okay, now they've got the game for free on Game Pass, but now they've got a double dip on the microtransactions as well, blah 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 blah, maybe they're feeling like that's overkill, So like, it's kind of like imagine if Netflix on top of the subscription also had ads. That's kind of like if you're subscribing to Game Pass for those exclusives, shouldn't they be pure games and not also have an upsell? I mean, it'd be so annoying if, like, you subscribe to Netflix and you also had ads. That's kind of a similar thing, isn't it?
Microsoft does that, don't they? You subscribe to Xbox Live Gold and you get ads on your dashboard sometimes.
Yeah, and people are pissed about it.
Yeah, they probably should be, because it's like, you pay for the service, at least let me get rid of the ads.
Yes.
I'm cool. I think it's good that Forza Horizon's not going to have that, like the prize tokens, because that's all people always say, that like when they review the games, like, oh, you can here, because they think like, oh, because it's there, they somehow change how the money's rewarded and things like that. They make it like longer to grind out the cars and stuff. So for them to already be like, hey, Forza Horizon 4 is not going to have that to buy with real world money. So they get out in front of that. Of course, I've already seen some people actually upset they're not going to have it, because that is how they buy cars in Forza Horizon. Like, oh, I wanted to race as this one car, and it was a lot of money, and I wanted to buy it right away, and now I won't be able to. So I guess you can't please all the people all the time, right? And you can't even really please some of the people all the time.
Can you please any of the people all the time?
I can't even please some of these
on a daily basis.
Looking at some of the stuff in chat, apparently I can't please a few people either. Because we're just I'm not even going to mention it. So yeah, Gran Turismo. I think people were just upset about the fact that they said they weren't going to be there, not actually about the microtransactions themselves. But yeah, what else we got here? Let's talk about Scarlett. Let's talk about Xbox Scarlett, the streaming device, everything around that, the XCloud, because this stuff all came out last week and we didn't do a podcast about it. Brad Sams from Throw.com had the leak, which you had as well, but you got scooped. You got scooped, Jez. How did you let this happen?
I don't know, man. Like I say, like, if I hear a rumor and I don't have like hard evidence to back it up, I don't publish it. But Sam's heard the similar stuff to me, and I guess he had evidence and published it. But I mean, we talked about it in earlier July, right? And
yeah.
So basically, Throw.com revealed some details about Scarlett, which was originally revealed by Windows Central, by the way. That there's going to be a streaming device, apparently, which is going to be cheaper to access. So like maybe $100 device which will stream games to. That I didn't hear, by the way. That was all Brad Sams. And also there's still a Scorpio successor on the way and stuff like that. Basically what some of the things I've heard about this stuff recently, and also the streaming service is called XCloud or something like that. I've done some digging, and it seems that Scarlett isn't the console.
Really?
So like,
not the console, huh? It's not the successor.
Scarlett isn't Scorpio 2. It's not the successor to Scorpio. Scarlett seems to, and I've heard this from a few places now, but Scarlett seems to refer to the whole project around next gen. So the family of devices, it's not just the devices, it's also the services, the operating system and stuff like that, maybe. The WinCore OS based version of the Xbox platform. Adaptive share. I mean, I'm not going to go into the technical details because it's going to be very boring to listen to, but we've got this stuff on Windows Central. Look, Google Windows Core OS, and also Google C Shell if you're interested in what the operating system in the next Xbox is going to look like. Oh, C Shell, WindowsCentral.com, and WinCore OS, WindowsCentral.com. Google those things, and you'll find out some more information about the way Microsoft is looking at its operating systems for the future. But Scarlett's the whole project surrounding that. And XCloud apparently isn't the name of the streaming service like some people assumed. It's actually just the name of the team that are making these features. And I've heard that from a few places too now. So it's interesting the way this initiative around Scarlett seems to be structured, because in the past we've been given a console code name, and it's all like we knew a lot about what was coming with Scorpio, right? Because they announced it so early. But the streaming service, this rumored streaming console, and also the Scorpio successor are all sort of unknowns, you know. And one of the big leak, the main piece of information which was most interesting to me that Sam's wrote about, which is what I heard too, is that the game streaming service is not just going to be you stream a video from the internet and then upload your inputs to the internet, creating this latency. How it's actually going to work is that the low-powered device, like the streaming console, will handle collision and inputs on the local device, and it will only stream some of the graphics from the cloud. So like you won't have the controller input latency, because all of that will be handled on the local device. What you'll get instead is the image quality. So depending on how powerful your internet speed is, the images will look better. But at the very least, you will be able to play your game and enjoy relatively good quality and responsive controls, even on a phone over the internet. So that's the way Microsoft seems to be exploring this, is sort of a halfway hybrid solution, not just, oh, we're going to stream everything over the internet and upload all your inputs to the internet with latency.
Isn't that how like the NVIDIA Shield kind of does a lot of stuff?
I honestly don't know. Are you talking about that new NVIDIA service? I can't remember what it's called.
I believe it's called the NVIDIA Shield. There's like 3 different tiers of it. There's like a $179 version, and there's like a $200 version, and like a $300 version. Or maybe it's like the NVIDIA GeoForce or something. It's
NVIDIA and the NVIDIA GeForce is the drivers for the graphics cards. No, the graphics cards are called GeForce. I can't remember, but I know what you're talking about. The NVIDIA does have a streaming service too. I don't know how it works. I haven't looked into it myself particularly. Oh, it's called GeForce Now. That's what it's called, right? I just googled it. It's in beta now, and it's playing AAA. I mean, this is what it says on the website: playing AAA PC games on your big screen TV, using your Shield TV, which is a streaming console box. Blah blah blah. So apparently, and some people on Windows Central have used this, and apparently it actually does work pretty well. So like, it'll be interesting to see if Microsoft can pull off similar. But clearly, this is where some of the future lies. And I don't know if this is how Nvidia does it with the whole the halfway system. But I'm trying to figure it out while we just podcast. But I mean, Rand, what did you think when you first heard this news about the hybridized solution and stuff like that?
It makes total sense to me. It's exactly what they're going for. You don't reach 2 billion gamers with the console. I'm sorry, you just can't. No matter, I mean, look at the best-selling console of all time, the PlayStation 2. It's only going to sold 150 million. The PlayStation 4, as dominant as it is, maybe won't be able to even reach that. So their goal of reaching those many gamers, you ain't doing with the console. And Phil's talked about streaming before. I've had plenty of videos dating back to even last year saying, like, I think this is going to happen. So to see next gen start with a streaming console and a regular console, a traditional one, because obviously that's really important, is not really too surprising. However, the reaction to the leak was really surprising because people freaked out. People freaked out in a way where they really focused on this. First off, it's all rumor. Jez can say he has all this stuff, but we don't know. The thing could get canceled tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean,
it may not even come out.
I don't have any hard evidence about any of this, just trusted sources right now, which is why I didn't leak it in the first place. I didn't have a document. I like to have a document.
So possible. And we know Microsoft is all about streaming. They have the Azure cloud, which is something that makes them a ton of money. And we've seen articles where they've been working on this tech for years, and they canceled one back in 2013 because it was just too cost prohibitive. So it makes sense to do this, but people were freaking out because they either ignored or tried to kick Xbox just because people there are people out there that made it seem like there was only the streaming option, when clearly, even in Brad Sam's report, is like there's going to be a traditional console. And that's the one I want. I said in my video, I don't care about the streaming console. I ain't getting one. I want the local console to play the games on. However, if you take a look at what Microsoft wants to accomplish and what their goals are, a streaming console fits in with exactly what they're trying to do. Now, of course, there are some drawbacks. Clearly, you need good internet. Data caps are going to be an issue. Well, data caps are going to be an issue. Clearly. Yeah, they will.
Well, this is the thing, man. No one cries about data caps with Netflix. And it's the same amount.
I get dangerously close to my data cap of 1 terabyte a month when I actually watch Netflix and stream content, 4K content. I get dangerously close.
I'm so glad that I'm European. Data caps are just...
No, I'm just saying, look, clearly, there's always going to be drawbacks to anything. A drawback to the traditional console is going to be expensive. It's going to be $400 or $500. Some people just won't have it. A drawback to this, even though it's going to be cheaper, is that some people may have crappy internet. Some people might have really shitty, data caps and not going to be able to use it. So, that stuff is there. It is an issue. But the choice is, I think, paramount. And I know this gets brought up a lot of
Rand, there's another aspect to this. It's like the NVIDIA Shield TV, right? Which brings us GeForce Now. GeForce Now is exclusive to that streaming box. You have to remember, when Microsoft showed off their tech, there was a huge smartphone in the background. They weren't showing off a streaming console. They were showing off, Phil Spencer said on stage, console quality streaming with a smartphone in the background, as he said that.
Right.
That's how you reach 2 billion gamers.
No,
you don't sell them a streaming box. You go where they are, which is why Microsoft put Office on Android, which is why, Microsoft brings all their services to iOS and iPad and all that stuff now. They want to go where people are.
Right, and there's a billion people on Android phones. I know, I've been saying this for a long time. You're going to be able to stream your Xbox games on your phone, to your tablets, to your PC, probably even to your TV. But like the streaming device is at least what we're talking about. Like this is what we kind of like have information on. And like when you put it in perspective of like, hey, how can this help Microsoft in versus Sony or Nintendo, right? I think, and people are gonna laugh and they're gonna say this is the Xbot in me or fanboy or whatever, but it could potentially, and I say this potentially because it clearly may just blow up in their face and not work. It could be industry revolutionary, right? Because when you start off a new generation, right, these consoles are expensive, and Sony and Microsoft are like basically waiting almost the entire gen to get the price point down to a mass market audience. But what if you could start the generation out already at mass market price? What if you could have a console out right away that is $100 that plays the games in good enough quality and plays all the games? Because that's the difference between this and I see people say PlayStation Now.
Well, Rand, I mean, that's another rumor I've heard, is that this streaming console stuff might be out way before Scorpio 2.
Right, okay, but I just want to refer it to PlayStation Now because I see this because people say, "Oh, this is the same thing." But when you actually look at PlayStation Now and you actually think about what this console is going to be, the streaming device is like PlayStation Now is a subscription service with 650 games. That's 2 access points. You either get it on your PlayStation or you get it on your PC, so you gotta have a PC for it, or you need to actually buy a PlayStation 4 hardware, which can range from anywhere between like $250 to $400 to be able to access it. Now, it has 650 games, which is a ton of value. However, most of the library is PlayStation 3 games because it was kind of their backwards compatibility solution, right? They also have some PlayStation 4 games on there, not a lot, and they're typically older PlayStation 4 games. Sony doesn't really have a lot of their exclusives on there. They got like Killzone and like Until Dawn and a couple others. So the only people really interested in PlayStation Now are for people who haven't played all the games from past gen. Now, in my opinion, it's not really comparable to what Xbox is going to do because this streaming box, you're going to be able to get it for cheap. It's going to be $100 to $150. But more importantly than that, it's going to play all the new games day one, in my opinion. It's going to be able to play the Call of Duty game, the Battlefield game, the Madden game, the FIFA game. It's going to play all the brand new games day one on it, which is something that is very much lacking on PlayStation Now, where it's just a subscription service with older games. But people want newer games to play. So the sell here is that, hey, what if you could buy into next gen and get next gen quality like graphics streaming, whether it's 4K streaming or 1080p streaming, for literally $100, and you can play any game on there. Not through a subscription service, because clearly I don't think these big companies will allow that. But like, you would obviously buy the game, and it would link to your Xbox Live account, so you could stream it on the streaming device. And if you have a regular Xbox console Scarlett, then you could actually play it locally there. And if you have a phone, you could eventually stream it to your phone because it would know that you have the license. See, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking of Microsoft's approach here. I mean, you already kind of see it with Xbox Play Anywhere. This is just a bigger version of Xbox Play Anywhere. So you buy, Red Dead Redemption 2, or say you buy Halo Infinite, you can play it on the Scarlett console. You can stream it on the streaming device. You can then stream it to your phone or stream it to your PC, all because you have the single license. Yeah, there's drawbacks, internet, things like that. But seriously, think about this for a second. $100 or $150 is a compelling price point. And the thing is, when you're buying something at that cheap, you don't expect a lot, right? When you buy a $2,000 car, you don't expect it to work as well as a $50,000 car. That's just...
Some people do, man.
Some people do, but you don't really expect that. When you eat a $2 burger from McDonald's, you don't expect it to taste as good as a $15 burger. That's just how
I really like McDonald's burgers.
When you pay more for something, you expect more for something. So when someone drops $100 on the streaming box, the expectations won't be as much as what you're going to be spending for $400 or $500 on the Xbox Scarlett. So That's just kind of how I thought this all thing was going to play out. You can say it's, you know, that this is just pie in the sky stuff, but I honestly think this is Microsoft's strategy. This is exactly how they're going to approach it. They're going to go into next gen and they're going to be like, we have a device that is extremely cheap. And some people, a lot of casuals out there, might be like $100, $150, and this is the big thing here. It has to be cheap. It has to be. It cannot be a cent over $150. It can't get to 200 because I know they're going to put, you know, the, like you said, the CPU and all that stuff in there, right? But it has to be a cheap option, right? And I know I see DI Almighty Spartan God says they hope they have a killer app for it. The killer app's the games, dude. The killer app is the price, in my opinion.
It's all about that price. But the thing is, like, for example, the NVIDIA Shield TV is not expensive, but GeForce Now doesn't have the same brand power as Xbox. You know, so there you go.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think, look, and I said this, it very well could not work and not be the way I'm envisioning it. But if it is, and I think it will be, it could potentially be industry changing. Because Microsoft and Sony spend the whole gen trying to get their cost of their systems down enough to $199 and $150 to reach all these casuals. And it takes the entire gen, and then you start over, and the prices go back up. But what if you could start a new gen with really super cheap prices to begin with? I don't know. It could change things. It may not change anything. People might still be like, why get an Xbox that has no games? I don't know. But like when I see this, I see potential. Like I kind of see what Microsoft is going for, but obviously they have to nail the landing. They have to perfect it. The system and everything has to work. You know, it has to work. It can't be like you play it and there's latency all over the place. The price has to be right and the content has to be there. You know? I don't know. That's just my Jazz, am I just kind of like pie in the sky here or what?
I like pie.
No, Sony has not already tried this. I've seen people say this all the time. Sony has not tried this.
We honestly should not equate PlayStation Now to what Xbox is doing because Microsoft has over 50 data centers all around the world to reduce latency. Sony cannot match that right now unless they partner with Amazon or someone else like that. Also, Microsoft is streaming only visual data to their device. Latency, inputs, and collision will be handled by the local device, which is also not what Sony is doing. It's a completely different kettle of fish. So it's comparing what Sony is doing is more like Blockbuster Video, whereas what Microsoft is doing is more like Netflix. You know, it's the next step, and I'm sure Sony can catch up to that. I'm not saying Sony doesn't have the software or architectural know-how how to do that, and they could easily partner with Amazon or, you know, who knows who, and to deliver that sort of latency. There's no reason Sony can't do it as well, but they're not doing it right now. What Sony does right now is uploads your input to the internet and downloads the video back to you. The latency is unbearable. I've tried it. I've got a pretty good internet connection. And if PlayStation Now was actually any good, more people would be using it. Simple as.
Well, no, it's not. Okay, here's, as I said before, like you get what you pay for. It's not that PlayStation Now isn't good or bad because I don't really have an opinion on it. I think most of the problems with PlayStation Now is the library, right? If Spider-Man and God of War and new games were in PlayStation Now day one, I bet you way more people use that service. Because that's what people want to play. They don't want to play a 10-year-old game on PlayStation 3. They don't want to subscribe to a service that is literally PlayStation 3 games. That type of person who subscribes to that is a very specific niche person. But if like Sony included Spider-Man and God of War in PlayStation Now, I bet you tons of people would use the service.
For sure.
But so that's what I'm saying. Like this is totally different. This is going to be
work. If you're playing a reactive game like Spider-Man or God of War or a shooter, you know, and you shoot things and the bullet doesn't go out of your gun for like half a second or longer, then it's just not going to feel good. And that's what PlayStation Now is right now, at least in Europe. It might be better in America, where they have better network infrastructure in America, but in Europe it's not that great, especially in the sticks in Germany where I live. But Microsoft has a data center in Frankfurt, so I know that Microsoft's latency to me in Germany will be a lot better than Sony's, because Sony doesn't have a data center near me.
And I was also told that Sony might have something very similar for next gen as well.
Oh,
yeah,
like a streaming console.
Something very similar.
Well, don't they already have the PlayStation View box?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, Microsoft.
PlayStation View is already that, isn't it? PlayStation View.
Microsoft isn't the only one thinking about this. There's Google. I mean, how do you think Google's going to get in the console industry? Offering some sort of cheap streaming device? You know, this isn't just Microsoft trying to outmaneuver Sony or Nintendo. This is also thinking about future threats. They want to be one of the first ones there, dominate cloud gaming. You know, and Irrelevant Native, he wants to know, what price would you buy it at? He thinks it relies on marketing, educating the casuals on the device. I think this product can't be a dollar more than $150. I think a great price for it would be $100. You start approaching 200, I think it loses that appeal of impulse buy. Because imagine a scenario like you have really PlayStation only fans, right? Who are like, I'm gonna get a PlayStation because I play everything there and it has all these great games. But what if, hey, Ninja Theory's new game's coming out, Fable's coming out from Playground Games, the Initiative is finally dropping some great content. You know, I hear Halo Infinite is amazing, but you don't want to spend $500 on a console, especially for a secondary console, right? But what if there's this option to be like, you know what? Here's $100. You can buy this streaming device. Your internet's pretty good. And you can just sit that there and you can play the exclusives and be done with it. And you probably feel really good about it because instead of spending $500 on something that is you're only going to use a few times, you only spent $100 on something. And your expectations are lower because, as I said before, you know, you get what you pay for. You expect more out of something for $500 than you do out of $100. So a PlayStation fan or a Nintendo fan might be thinking to themselves, I can get the streaming device, not spend a lot of money, and I can experience everything Microsoft has to offer. Of course, that's assuming you don't have a beast PC to play all the games too. I don't know. That's just kind of the thoughts in my head.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about. Like, you said Sony's going to get into this too, and they do have the PlayStation View service, which apparently is amazing. Like, whereas I've heard bad things about PlayStation Now, I've actually heard really good things about PlayStation View, which is kind of like Hulu, I think, in America. We don't have this stuff in Europe, obviously, because Europe has nothing cool like this. We also don't have data caps. Maybe that's why you guys have data caps, because you have all the cool streaming services, and we don't have any. But View is basically like you pay a subscription, you get cable TV over the internet for a box. Like, it's a cord cutter thing, and people said that's really good, you know. And there's no reason Sony can't deliver PlayStation Now or the next generation of PlayStation Now through a similar device. So, it's anyone's game right now. You know, Microsoft's stuff sounds great, but it might not work either. It might suck. And
Stu Jersey wants to know, if the streaming device is 100, what happens to the 1S and the 1X? Is the X going to be better for the streaming device? I don't know. Like, what if the streaming thing and the latency only work because they put in the new CPU in there, like a new Ryzen? The X won't have that CPU, and neither will the S. What if the streaming service is only going to be available on that device, the streaming device, but not on the older consoles, because they wouldn't be able to do it? Like I said, this is all just based on leaks and rumors. It may not even be true. I don't really know. Jez doesn't really know. It's just, I don't know. Like, when I think about this stuff, I think it all has great potential, but there's so many pitfalls, you know, like, that could go along with it. But for me, they're still making a console, so I don't really care. Like, they can make the streaming box. As long as I have my console, I'm good. And most people are going to feel the same, but that doesn't stop people from bitching like Microsoft is suddenly now just streaming only, though. You know what I mean? I don't know. But, like, it's been clear as day that Microsoft was going down this path. I mean, like I kind of struggle or to think of like how people were like dumbfounded by this news. It's like they've been telegraphing what they wanted to do for months now. I don't know.
Years. The first information that Microsoft's working on a streaming service came out in 2013, and apparently I've heard from people who used to work on the team that cloud streaming was something they considered for the Xbox 360, not even the Xbox One. So
yeah, and they're gonna leverage their data centers and their Azure cloud. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, oh well, at least you tried. I don't know. Like it has the potential to be huge, but that's just potential. You know, Sony might. Who knows what Sony's going to do? They do a traditional console. They have bomb-ass exclusives. You know, I mean, maybe nothing changes at all. Maybe Microsoft offers the streaming device at $100 and nobody cares. And it's just the same old, same old. Sony wins, Microsoft loses, Nintendo's right there. You know, in that sense of like selling the consoles, because obviously everyone's going to make a ton of money. But maybe, I don't know, maybe, you know, like, maybe people are like, huh, $100 for this thing? And it plays all the new games? I'm going to take a look at this. I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting. But they said 2020 for the launch, Jez. Brad Sams pretty much said the same thing, 2020. How set in stone do you think that date is?
I have no clue, man. I have no clue. I've heard the streaming service is actually coming along pretty well and might be released before 2020, but I don't know anything about the Scorpio successor. I don't know. There's no code commits yet. There doesn't seem to be a code name for it. I don't know. Like
shout out to the
true code name for it. I don't know.
Shout out to the Osman for the super chat. He says, "Thanks for the show. Thanks for the support, buddy. Really appreciate it." Yeah, I mean, all this is just kind of it's fun to speculate about, think about what the future holds. But I would imagine 2020, and yeah, people are gonna. It's gonna be really interesting seeing a streaming platform finally. Like I know there's the Nvidia stuff, but like one that has the backing of a company like Microsoft. And Greg says, is Microsoft too far ahead of the curve again? Maybe they are, because clearly they were with like the Kinect, and you know how well. I mean, Jez, earlier before we did the podcast, you were talking to Alexa. Like Microsoft was doing the stuff with Kinect that, you know, Google and Alexa and Amazon are doing now. So they were clearly ahead of the curve on that one. It's just
Microsoft is amazing at releasing things too early. You know, they even did the touchscreen smartphones first, but they were clunky and messy. And then Apple came along and got it right. Like they looked at what Microsoft did wrong and reacted to it and got it right. Microsoft had tablets first, but Apple again looked at what Microsoft did wrong and then got it right. And Microsoft always playing catch up, you know. Like they're doing it again with Skype and Discord. Discord's destroying Skype. It's tearing it to pieces. It's sad to watch. You know, Microsoft trip over its own feet all the time. I'm sure it's going to happen with HoloLens too. Remember HoloLens? HoloLens was like this amazing new technology a few years ago, but what's happened to it now? Nowhere to be seen. And maybe Apple will be the first to that too. Apple just hit $1 trillion market cap, by the way. Did you notice?
They were their first company, right?
Yeah, world's first company to be worth $1 trillion.
That's a whole lot of moolah.
That is just obscene, in a way. Capitalism, baby.
Yeah, and
a lot of iPhones.
One of the games that features cloud streaming is Crackdown 3. How to transition from cloud streaming right to a game that has the cloud in it. And I swear to God, I am sick of talking about Crackdown 3. But I figured I had to mention this because someone was in my DMs earlier being like, "You hate Xbox. You only cover Crackdown when there's bad news, but here's a good news article and you didn't do a video about it." And I'm like, "Really? I have to deal with this nonsense?" And I replied to the dude, I was like, "Listen, I'm sick of talking about Crackdown, but we'll talk about it on the podcast, right?" So what's going on with Crackdown, Jazz? Like, you get an article from Eurogamer saying like cloud destruction is too big for the Xbox, and It's been simplified and it's in a one mode, and oh my god, these people are working all this extra time to do this game and nobody knows who's making it, and it seems like a big giant clusterfuck. And then an article comes out yesterday from one of the developers of Sumo Digital, and they're like, it's going great. It's amazing. Microsoft has given us all this extra time to make Crackdown great, and we finished it already, and we're finishing again and again. And I'm just like, what is going on with this game?
Well, game, like I've said before, the game is basically finished. They've just sort of been given a long time to polish some very important aspects of the game, add more beef, which in the form of dialogue and story content and things to do and stuff like that, and general polish, you know. And I mean, Phil and the team were fairly transparent about why they pushed it so far out, and part of it was because they wanted to get the feel of the game up. They wanted to get it up to the same level as Halo and Gears, I've heard from multiple people, and also because it's the third game in a franchise. If it's bad, and Crackdown 2 wasn't that well received either, if it's bad, that's it. It's over for that franchise. Microsoft doesn't want it to be over because Crackdown 1 is a classic in some ways. And so what they said in the interview, straight up, the game's pretty much done, and it's definitely coming out in February. So I don't think there's much more to say about it at this point, man. It's just a waiting game now. I mean, it's gonna have this weird spotlight and this weird cloud hanging over it because of how mismanaged the announcement was and how the milestones were delayed and, you know, stuff like that. But it's like Sumo Digital said in that gamesindustry.biz interview, which I urge anyone to go and have a read because it's quite interesting. Like he said, Sumo Digital isn't used to being in the limelight. They're used to being a collaborative dev working with major studios to produce like modes for games. They're not used to being, you know, the main attraction. And they said the studio sometimes struggles with that. And also he went on to talk about how, you know, he's got confidentiality and sometimes he'd like to talk about the game but he can't and stuff like that. And you know, and it is kind of weird how Microsoft allowed the game to be shrouded in so much secrecy for so long after, you know, showing off some fairly impressive stuff with the cloud destruction. Like, I thought that was impressive at least, and we saw it running live at Gamescom years ago and it was really impressive. But again, closed network conditions. Over the internet, it might look very different from what I've heard. So, I don't know. At this point, man, it's just about playing the waiting game. And the thing is, there was nothing really new in that article. I'm sure we've talked about before how the game's basically finished. And they're just polishing it up now, adding bits and pieces, you know? So, I don't know.
It's just a game that has been through the roller coaster ride. You get one article saying one thing, another article saying the other. And it's like, what?
Negativity creates clicks, man. I mean, did you see?
Yeah, I know, definitely. People are much more negative about stuff than they are positive about stuff for a reason.
Some of my best articles were negative. You know, my Scalebound cancellation article was the biggest article for that year, I think. You know, and all I was doing was reporting the news, but people from all over the games industry was interested in that because, like, everyone's got their little agendas, you know, and stuff like that. And
I still think, you know, because the guy said, oh, Microsoft wants to give this game the time it deserves so it can be on the par with Gears and Halo. I still think that's just a PR line and they don't truly mean it. Like, I know Phil really likes to.
I'm not sure they actually said that. I think that's just something I heard or someone heard. I think that's just a rumor. I'm not sure that's actually a PR statement. I could be wrong about that, but I'm not sure that's actually a PR statement. I think that's just something I heard or something someone told me.
I'm pretty sure it was in the interview where they talked about that. Let me see if I can find it.
I could be wrong.
Because let's see. Blah 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 blah. Maybe it was just like the author's like own spin on it, you know? I
Maybe.
mean, he says, "Oh, Crackdown progress is because it's been given the time it needs and warrants to meet the expectations of that franchise." The thing is, like, what expectations of the franchise? Like, Crackdown 1 was kind of a fluke. People bought it or even played it, bought it because it had the Halo 3 beta code in it, right? And it actually was a really good game. But then they kind of screwed everything up with Crackdown 2. They gave the dev a year to make it and a really short budget, and everybody hated Crackdown 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, when he says, like, when it warrants to meet the expectations of the franchise, like, what expectations? Like, one good game and one crappy game. You know what I mean? Like, I think they really screwed over the franchise when they allowed Crackdown 2 to be what it ended up being. You know? Like, and with all the stuff here with like the delays and, you know, the cloud destruction and what it will be and what it won't be and all this stuff, like, I don't, no matter what, like, when that game comes out, I know me and you talked about it, but that game is DOA for review wise. That game's got 65 written all over it. Unfortunately.
I hope you're wrong.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong too. I'm hope like it surprises everybody. Sumo did a great job. The single player and 4-player co-op's amazing, and the multiplayer destruction is great, right? And you know, it's a 75 or an 80 or something. That'd be great. That'd be like best case scenario. But I don't know. Everybody I talked to that's played the game at E3 2 years ago, like every single person I talked to, and these are Crackdown fans, they hated that demo or they hated what was there. And it was just like, everybody's just like, and then it got delayed and people were like, good, it should be delayed because it wasn't very good. You know what I mean?
It's going to have a big spotlight over it and a big target because like everyone's like, Microsoft's got no exclusives, their exclusives are mediocre, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know. I just hope that it's decent enough to stand on its own two legs a bit, kind of like State of Decay. Like, even though State of Decay was buggy and messy, but it still had something that made it fun and made me play it for a few dozen hours. So I'm hoping that, you know, they can pull off something similar with Crackdown. I don't know. We'll see.
Yes, we'll see. What do you think of the Xbox Game Pass titles for this month and the fact that Microsoft waited to August 1st to tell anybody about it?
Remind me what they are again.
Hitman Season 1.
Yeah, that's right. Hitman.
That's awesome. Ruiner,
great game, underrated. Everyone go and buy it.
Rise, Son of Rome, the most influential game of all time.
You mean God of War wouldn't exist without Rise, you know.
No. God of War exists because Rise existed. There were no games like Rise until Rise. Rise, you know, like Rise started it all. It started a revolution.
I heard Rise was the first melee game that ever existed.
Yes. It was also the first game to use a third-person camera. So you could see your character, and all other games since then are just copies. They're, you know, Rise is just, it's like the Godfather of video games, man. You know,
I heard Rise was the inspiration for Minecraft, actually.
Yeah, so it's Rise, Dead Rising 2, Connect Rush, Disney Pixar Adventure, and Dandara. I think it's a pretty great month. I think Hitman and Ruiner are awesome. Rise is good for a playthrough. Dead Rising 2 is okay. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good month. There's also talk that Doom's gonna join. Yeah. So you know when we mentioned before the Game Pass Twitter account that's all about them hot memes, right?
Hot memes.
The Twitter header included a picture of Doom and Graveyard Keeper that they eventually changed to two different games. And then they put out that cryptic like tweet about what is it? I don't know. Did you see this? Hold on. Let me bring it up. Let me see if I can find it here, and I'll read it. Where is? Can I find it? I guess I can't. I don't know. It was in the Reddit. Oh, here we go. New edition is coming to Xbox Game Pass soon. Can you solve this riddle, right? And it goes, one wanders alone, the other wakes from sleep. Find soon the answers that you seek, right? So, obviously, Doom starts with you literally waking up. So, I think Doom will be added probably right around the time, this time next week, because QuakeCon is next week. And they're unveiling gameplay for Doom Eternal. So, I don't know what the other game is. Maybe it's that Gravekeeper game, but I think Doom's going to join, and that would be... I mean, Doom's awesome.
Doom's amazing. I love Doom so much.
Yeah, so that'd be good for the program. And, yeah, I mean, what do you think about the whole, like, Twitter account with all the memes and stuff? Some of it, I just cringe. I think some of that stuff is just cringy.
I think it's meant to be cringe.
You think so?
Well, the thing is, it's like the whole they're aware that it's cringe, right? Because like this is something that brands do, is that they use memes, you know, because it's just a shallow way of connecting with the youth. And then people tweet like "Hello, fellow kids," and then they tweeted back that meme about "Hello, fellow kids," so they know how cringe it is. But it's like it's almost like a cringe cycle now, because they've out cringed the cringe by being super cringe, and it's sort of like a sandwich of cringe with layers of little cringe mayonnaise. So I think they're well aware of what it is. I thought the trailer was pretty funny, personally. It kind of reminded me of edgy 90s video game marketing, almost. Not quite that bad, but I don't know. I think it was cool, man. It'll be funny to see if they're doing more stuff like that, or they can. You know, I just like cringe comedy. Maybe that's why I like it so much. I like The Office, the UK version, not the American version.
What about Tom Warren's tweet? Should we talk about this when we're talking about Game Pass? So
yeah, I didn't cover this. This was Tom Warren tweeted that. How would you feel about getting an Xbox One X, Xbox Live, and Xbox Game Pass for a 24? And
instead of you paying $1,000 up front, you only got to pay an extra like $15 or $20 on your plan. So you paid over like 2 years. I'm kind of curious to see if that would actually take off. Like if anybody be like, you know what, I really want an X, but I don't want to pay $500 for it. But if it was $40 a month or $30 a month, I would consider doing it. You think there are a lot of people that would do that?
Some people are just kind of bad with money. I often see people who can't really afford it getting iPhone 9. iPhone 9 doesn't exist. Like iPhone X on iPhone 10 on contract. Even though they can't really afford it, they think of it like, oh, it's only that much, so much a month. But you end up paying so much for it over time. I'm not a huge fan of those kind of contract deals, but like Microsoft would come back and say like, we're offering people options, which is what they always say about microtransactions and stuff like that. You know, I mean, maybe it is going to be good value and stuff like that, but I can see a scenario where you end up paying more than you would have done if you were financially in a position to buy all of that stuff up front, which I personally find a little bit predatory. So as long as it's not too much more expensive than what you would have got if you could afford to cash flow that all up front, then okay. But I don't feel comfortable supporting it if it's significantly more expensive over time. I don't know what you think about that stuff.
Well, yeah,
I always see that with iPhones and stuff like that, where you pay so much a month and they just end up being so much more expensive. So I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they get you because they charge interest on it, and they charge more than what you're actually going to pay. But of course, people are like, I'd rather pay it over 2 years than pay it all at once. But I don't know. I don't think the Xbox One X is that expensive. I mean, considering, like a phone could be $1,000.
But there's some people out there, man, who live paycheck to paycheck.
No, I understand that. I understand. I'm just kind of like thinking, like, what would be the price point? Like, how much are we paying a month? Like, yeah, you're getting, 2 years of Xbox Live Gold, 2 years of Game Pass.
Well,
clearly.
let's work it out. I mean,
well, no, someone did. It's like comes out, so the console plus all that stuff, it's like $860.
so $860 divided by 24 is what?
Um,
160 divided by 24 equals 35.83 recurring.
yeah,
So
so $35 a month. What are they? So they probably would bump it up to 40 a month. So they're actually
yeah,
making something off. $40 a month to get an Xbox One X, a Game Pass, and Gold. I mean, Game Pass. They could be like, hey, we have all these games here to play. I don't know. Anybody in chat, if you don't have an X, is $40 a month something that you would be interested in having a yearly plan for?
I suppose there is some risk involved for Microsoft there because if like, I mean, you know, the console might break and stuff like that, or people might cancel their subscription and send it back, or I don't know. I don't know. I've not really thought about how much the logistics of how that sort of system works. But it's interesting. The real way of thinking about this is Microsoft is thinking about doing everything they can to think of ways to lower the barriers to getting people into console. Clearly, they do a lot of surveys and a lot of focus testing in Microsoft, and clearly what they've done is they've gone and said, what are the reasons why you haven't bought an Xbox One X? And probably one of the reasons people have come back and said it's cost prohibitive. You know, it's like too expensive. I don't have a 4K TV. You know, it's too much for me, too much for my budget. So Microsoft probably thinking, well, if we can spread the cost out so people can cash flow it more easily, maybe we can get more people on board. And it's all about reaching those extra gamers because clearly Microsoft sees their install base as holding them back. And it has been, you know, that's a reason why a lot of...
I like how you said that. Microsoft sees their fan base as holding them back.
No, their install base.
Yeah, their install base, which is their fan base. Yes, I know.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's like I just meant it like they're not getting Japanese games on the platform because Japanese devs thinks there's no audience for it. But if they had a bigger audience at scale, those sort of niches become bigger, you know. So like, whereas a game that's might be a no-brainer on PlayStation, devs have to consider a bit more on Xbox because the install base is smaller. And there's also less information out there about the exact install base of Xbox. Like Sony are constantly saying, this is how many consoles, this is how many endpoints are attached to our network. I don't know if Microsoft shares that information with developers in private. My guess is no, because I think it would have leaked to me specifically. Any devs out there who want to give me the exact install base of Xbox, hit me up, guys. But I don't think devs have that information. So like Xbox is a bit of an unknown quantity, you know. And I'm sure if Xbox was out in front of PlayStation, they would still be reporting the figures. So it's all about growing the install base, you know.
No,
Bruh.
I mean, yeah,
You know,
that's
bruh?
true.
Bruh. I've started saying brah recently.
Brah? Why are you saying brah?
Because of PlayStation brah on Twitter.
Ah, the brah.
I read it because he says it all the time, and I read his tweets in my head, and he says brah, and I've started saying it in real life from reading his tweets. So shout out to that guy because he's pretty cool.
Shout out to the brah, the PlayStation brah.
PlayStation brah.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Bro.
Got a lot of great previews.
It did.
Looks like a great game, and one of them said that you can thank Sunset Overdrive for Spider-Man's web slinging and how he gets around the city. I'm glad we beta tested Spider-Man for you guys, PlayStation fans. I quite enjoyed Sunset Overdrive. I'm glad I could be of service to you in the creation of what looks like to be a fantastic game. I can't wait to play Spider-Man.
It's kind of annoying in a way that Spider-Man could be Sunset Overdrive 2.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, if Microsoft didn't hop on Sunset Overdrive 2 right away, or if Sunset Overdrive actually sold well, where Microsoft wanted a sequel immediately, then this game doesn't get made by Insomniac. Somebody else makes this game, or there is no Spider-Man game. So, for all you PlayStation fans out there who are, so hyped over the moon for this game, Better thank your lucky stars that Xbox gamers didn't buy Sunset Overdrive. You know, because that's basically what is the reason. You know what I mean?
It's a shame because I really like that game.
Yeah,
I don't know why it didn't resonate. Is it? I think with Sunset Overdrive for the longest time, I just didn't know what it was. Like in the marketing, it didn't make much sense to me what the game was, and they often talked about cloud-powered stuff in Sunset Overdrive 2, because do you remember it was one of the first games to use this sort of live delivery system where they could inject YouTube videos into the game and memes it was during this whole cloud confusion thing too. I feel like there was a lot of confusion around Sunset Overdrive's marketing, at least from my end. Did you get a sense of that? Like a lot of people didn't know what the game was meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that,
especially when it was first announced. It wasn't obvious what it was.
No, I could totally see that. I could see people not really understanding what Sunset Overdrive is, and not buying it because of it. It also came out at a terrible time. I think it was like the end of 2014 is when it released. Kind of got buried in between some of the bigger releases. And Xbox just wasn't really at a good place then, quite frankly. And it was just kind of one of those lost games that didn't sell well at all, from what I heard. Unfortunately, deserved better. But hey, you got Spider-Man out of it.
Looks good.
Yeah, I can't wait to play it. It was my most.
I upset a lot of people by saying the limited edition console didn't.
You sure did, because I got DMs about it.
I had over several hundred likes.
I had DMs saying that they were going to stop watching the podcast because you didn't like it.
My God, man.
Yep, and I definitely I saw people. I think Morgana Days did a video about you. I think maybe did 2 videos about you. And the tweets and stuff. I definitely saw a lot of PlayStation fans with the screen cap of your tweet because you haven't blocked. Definitely having to go at you. And people even came to me like, "Oh, he's on your podcast." You know, I'm like, Jez can speak for himself. What do you want me to do? Like, it's not. I'm not Jez.
I don't even feel like I said anything that bad about it. It's just a red console with a sticker slapped on it. What I should have said was, I wish it was an engraving or something that looked a little bit more high quality than just a white sticker. Like the red gloss, actually looks really nice. Like if they just sold a red gloss PlayStation, that'd look great. But they just slapped a sticker on it, which looks cheap, I think. It should be engraved, like the Gears console is engraved. Couldn't they do a laser engraving of the logo? I don't know. I feel like limited editions should be more than a cash-in. They should be a celebration of the content. I just felt PlayStation fans and Spider-Man fans deserve better. That's all. There were some people really mad, and it actually makes sense now because I didn't know people made videos about it, but like, man, there was some really angry people, and clearly they'd been sent there from like these toxic channels, I guess.
I mean, there's always when someone hates on something that you like.
Console. I will happily crap on an Xbox that looks bad too. I mean, Microsoft has released ugly-looking and limited edition Xboxes as well, But people just love their consoles, man. Consoles are life. Console wars are life. That's what they say, man.
Console war is life.
Console war is life. How sad.
Yeah. Let's get some questions, shall we?
Sure, man. Why not?
Why not indeed? So DIM already spotting God wants you to read his comments. I'll read it too. He says, Jez, because when it comes to PlayStation, the effort goes into the game, not what you play the games on.
Well, my response to that is, why do you think that the team making the console is the same team as making the game? Why can't we have both?
He says, why can't we have both, Mr. God? So there you go. Stew on that one for a little bit. Face. He wants to know, Rand and Jez, let's say Microsoft is the market leader for next gen. Will that entice big 30 publishers to put their games in Game Pass day one? I think the only thing that will get Game Pass, like big AAA games, like from Bethesda or Square Enix or Activision or EA, is a nice check from Microsoft and significant data that shows putting your game into Game Pass isn't going to negatively affect the physical or digital sales of their full price game on day one. I think that's
It
kind of
is,
the only way.
they need a lot of data to prove that it is a positive thing, a net positive, and it's worked for a lot of mid-tier games. Like it worked for State of Decay, it worked for Sea of Thieves. You know, it sort of like we've talked about it before. The fact that the game is free to some people creates this sort of viral effect, especially on a multiplayer game. If your friend has Game Pass and he's playing this multiplayer game, multiplayer is a super compelling way to convince someone to buy your game, because peer pressure is the most powerful form of marketing. Like, look at Rand. Rand hates PUBG, but he can't stop playing. He's come on his podcast and said, "I hate PUBG." Well, pretty much like he was done with PUBG, and he goes back and plays it because all of his, not one of his friends give him peer pressure, but three. And the fact that State of Decay has 4-player co-op is no coincidence. You know, it's like it's extra peer pressure layered on top. When it's 4-player co-op, it's extra peer pressure. You know, like World of Warcraft. Like I've got like dozens of friends saying, "Oh, you're gonna play for Battle for Azeroth now?" It's the ultimate peer pressure, man. I got no choice but to play it. I don't want my friends to think I'm a party pooper now, do I?
Dude, I checked last night. I have 500 hours in PUBG.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know, right?
You don't want to know how many hours of World of Warcraft I've got.
I'd imagine a lot. So,
I'll tell you right now.
Oh,
right. This is at least because this is only one of my characters. So,
well, in the meantime,
8,400 hours.
8,400 hours. That is a lot.
8,400 hours of my life, at least, because that's one character in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, but Microsoft would have to share the data with these big publishers. Probably cut them a big check because let's be honest, like I don't think Activision, Bethesda, EA, they all know the worth of their games. You know what I mean? Yeah. They all know how much they're worth, and Microsoft would have to show significant data, like having the Game Pass day one actually improve sales, and then cut them a check for it. Maybe it'll happen one day, maybe it won't. I don't know. But Timothy Weekly wants to know if Halo Infinite is 4K 60 on the Xbox One X. What will the resolution and frame rate be on the Xbox 2?
4K 60 with enhancements?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it being 8K. I just imagine 4K 60, but like ultra everything, I guess.
I think we're a long way from 8K, so it's just going to be like.
That's assuming Halo Infinite's going to be 4K, like native 4K. Maybe it'll be dynamic, and then it'll be native on the 2.
I'm pretty sure it will be. They prioritized resolution with Halo 5 to hit that magical marketing number. So I would be happy to assume native 4K 60. But I don't know.
Right. Callie Rex wants to know, do we think Xbox will ever get an exclusive game like Sony did? Exclusive game like Sony, like
you mean like Spider-Man?
I mean, that's the only thing I can really think of. I mean, I think the days of Xbox having an exclusive where the game's only on Xbox and not on PC are long gone. I think anybody who's like still clinging to that is crazy at this point. I think every Microsoft exclusive is going to be on Xbox and PC, and then stream to your phone or whatever. They'll be wherever they can all be. As far as like if you're talking about a game like Spider-Man, where they cut a deal with Marvel or whatever they did, or Disney, I don't think so. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think so.
It doesn't really fit Microsoft's MO, really.
Buddy Boy wants to know, Jez, which one of Microsoft's new studios will be the first to bring a game out?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So Compulsion have just finished We Happy Few.
Yeah.
Coming out next week. So they'll be moving on to their big Xbox debut. And then we've got the Initiative. They're presumably going to be... The Initiative is the furthest out because they've got to establish their studio first.
They don't even have a building yet.
Do they not?
That's what I heard. There's no building yet for that.
Speaking of buildings, Ninja Theory is also having a new building built right now. So I imagine things are going to be complicated in Ninja Theory.
State of Decay 2 just came out for Undead Labs.
It's going to be a while, isn't it, Ron? We've got all these great studios.
I mean, Forza Horizon 4 comes out this year. There you go.
Well,
I would imagine he means beyond that, right? So
I think Playground is going to be the first one to break cover.
Well, okay, if we're not including Forza Horizon 4, which I'm not going to include because I'm not including because it was definitely in production before Microsoft bought them. I think Ninja Theory's next game comes out first before Fable, before the Initiative's games, before State of Decay 3, and before whatever Compulsion does. Because Hellblade came out in 2017. Phil's mentioned that they've been working. They haven't been sitting on their hands last year. Hellblade was also made by a team of 20 people, while that studio has 100, while the other 100 people were doing something else. So I'm telling you, man, because this goes into another question that somebody else had here. Let me see if I can find the name. But he asked us what I thought we thought the lineup would be for Scarlett for next gen, and I think Ninja Theory's game is going to be a launch title. Because one of the things that Microsoft wants to kick in the rear is the notion that they're not about single-player AAA experiences, which is exactly what Ninja Theory is going to do. So I think their new game comes out in 2020 or like early 2021. Because if you look at I just can't, like, Compulsion's got to be years away at this point, right? With We Happy Few. State of Decay 3 has got to be years away at this point. Initiative, they don't even have a building, and even if they did, they definitely don't have a full crew on production. So it's either between Playground and Ninja Theory, and they only started working on the supposed Fable game late last year, and they're still hiring people in like lead positions for it. And I would imagine that game is at the earliest a 2022 title. So I think Ninja Theory is a slam dunk for being the first one, and I think it'll be around launch.
I'm gonna say Fable comes before Ninja Theory's game.
Really? You think they're gonna get Fable out before Ninja Theory? That's interesting.
Yeah, I do. So we can have a bet on that if you want.
Yeah. Okay. Let's bet.
I bet you.
Wait, do you have any inside info on this one? Because if I'm betting you, you better not have any inside information on this.
Would you be mad?
You do have inside information on this. I'm not betting you now.
I don't really. I was joking.
You don't really?
Bet me.
What do you want to bet?
$100,000.
All right, here's the bet. If I win, you have to get a PlayStation 4.
Oh God, no. Stakes too high, man. Oh God, it's expensive.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you win, okay. If I win, you have to play a game that gives you an odd achievement number.
Oh my God.
You have to have an odd achievement number for at least 6 months if I win.
Jeez. That's gonna be right. And you have to play God of War if I win.
Okay.
Can you actually play God of War? Can you procure a PlayStation 4 and play God of War?
My brother has a PlayStation 4, so
you haven't even played some of the other games you said you were going to play to me, like Edith Finch, and you haven't even played Hellblade. You're talking about Ninja Theory like you know Ninja Theory. You haven't even played a single one of Ninja Theory's games, Jez. Have you played any of Ninja Theory's games, by the way? You don't even know what they made, have you?
I do. They made DMC.
And did you play that?
No.
Did you play Enslaved Odyssey of the West?
No.
Did you play Heavenly Sword?
No.
Did you play Kung Fu Chaos?
No, I haven't played any of their games.
You haven't played any of their games?
No, I haven't.
Can I get some, like, WTFs in here. Like this is disgusting. This is disgusting.
What's so disgusting about it?
You haven't played any of their games.
No,
Wow.
tell a lie. Oh no, I haven't played that either.
Unbelievable.
I heard DMC. Everyone was crying about DMC, so I didn't play it because of that. Heavenly Sword was a PS3 exclusive. I didn't have a PS3. So
No, okay, I didn't play Heavenly Sword either, but I played Enslaved. I played
Disney
DMC.
Infinity. There you go.
Oh, they were just helping on Disney Infinity. They didn't make it.
Hey, they helped. They worked on it. That counts.
Unbelievable. Why haven't
Disney
you played Hellblade yet? Why haven't you played Hellblade?
I don't have time.
What do you mean you don't have time? It's not that long of a game.
I tell you why, right? It's an antisocial game because you have to play it with headphones to enjoy it, apparently. And also, it's a single player narrative game. It's the kind of game where I need my girlfriend to not be here to play.
She's not here right now.
But now it's midnight, so I'm going to sleep.
Tomorrow.
She's coming back tomorrow.
Oh, you got an excuse for everything. You got an excuse for not getting a PlayStation because there's no room, but then I put my PlayStation on the floor.
I don't need excuses for not getting a PlayStation. It costs $300 or $400.
There's an excuse for everything with Jez when it comes to games and PlayStations.
I don't need an excuse to not spend that much money. I'm poor, man.
Hellblade is
how poor I am.
You have Hellblade already. I know you have Hellblade.
I have Hellblade.
Exactly.
I played the first 10 minutes of it.
You played.
And I was saying to my girlfriend, will you enjoy watching me play this game? And she was saying no. That pretty much meant that I couldn't play it. I'm whipped, man. Okay? You want the truth? You want the truth? And I can play a game like No Man's Sky while still talking to my girlfriend because it's brainless. But games like Hellblade, you don't want to play them while you're distracted. And I'm just so often distracted at the minute. And that's the thing, man. I never get time. I'm realizing it right now. I rarely get time to sit down and play a narrative-driven game because I'm so damn busy.
Okay. Look, I expect you to play Hellblade before their next game comes out.
I'm sure I will.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I'm sure I will.
Are you even going to play We Happy Few?
I've given that to someone else to review.
Oh my god.
I don't really review games much anymore. I'm not much of a game reviewer.
So, are you even going to play Forza Horizon 4?
No, I don't like racing games.
Are you even a gamer?
Yeah, I'm going to play World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth.
Oh my god.
I'm going to play Battle for Azeroth and Pokemon.
So for you, the biggest acquisition was Undead Labs because they actually make a game that you actually play. While all the other ones
with State of Decay, you don't have to pay attention to it. It's weird how like people's priorities change as they get older. I used to go through story-driven games like No Man's Business.
Now I understand when me and you always have these discussions in DMs about how I want Microsoft's first party to get better so they have great games, and you don't care. It's because you don't play any of the games, so you don't care if Microsoft puts out any games.
I do play the games, but we have different priorities now. Like, when I was a freelancer, and I didn't have an urgency to play games in a certain way. Like as a freelancer, I could just be like, you know what, I can just take a few days off work and play this game. And thank God I was a freelancer when Witcher 3 come out. Because I think if Witcher 3 came out now, I'd struggle to find time to play it and pay proper attention to it. Because I'm so damn busy. I need to figure out a way to just have quiet time. This is why people have man caves, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially, yes.
That's another thing. I live in a one-room apartment right now. So I can't play any narrative games without being a dick to my girlfriend. It's ignorant, man. Wearing headphones, playing a game while your girlfriend's there, just sitting there.
I mean, I guess that's true. If she's there and you got your headphones on and ignoring her, yeah.
It's mean.
Very mean.
If I had a man cave, I wouldn't have to see her and I wouldn't feel guilty.
That's right, you wouldn't.
That's what they're for, right?
Well, you need to get a man cave then.
I need a man cave. So, if you lose the bet, you have to buy me a man cave.
Okay, so we have one more. We have a question here from Björk Gunny. and he says, "Do you think Game Pass kills the opportunity of big games like God of War or Spider-Man? Question mark. Big single-player games without microtransactions."
See, that this is an interesting argument because some people would say that Game Pass actually helps those kind of games because now they've got an alternative revenue source, as in the cash flow from the subscription. They don't need microtransactions so much. They don't need to worry so much about targeting specific audiences because they're adding value. Like every niche that's catered for under Game Pass adds value. That's why Netflix has such a broad range of content because they're trying to cater for every niche. And I'm not suggesting that making a TV shows the same business model as making a video game, but it's just sort of a broad overview way of looking at it. Like some of the shows on Netflix, I would never watch in a million years because they're just not for my target audience. But like a lot of the other shows, like like for example, I never watch any of the narrative shows anymore because I don't have time to just sit down and watch something without being constantly distracted by emails and stuff like that. So I often watch reality TV because you don't have to pay attention to them properly. So like lately, Rand, I've been watching this Netflix show about baking desserts. Right.
Baking desserts?
Baking desserts. I can't remember what it's called now. It's called Just Desserts or something like that. And I've been having that on in the background while working because I don't have to pay attention to it like you do with Game of Thrones. If you look away from Game of Thrones for 10 minutes, you miss half the plot. So like they cater for every niche, and that's why like it's really important that they cater for every person's unique needs when it comes to gaming, because as everyone's gotten older and their priorities have changed, people have gotten kids, people have gotten like really busy jobs and stuff like that, but they still want to be a gamer. They have to cater for all those different niches. And I think one of the reasons like single player narrative games have they're not in the limelight anymore. I think it's because gamers have gotten older, and the average age of the gamer has gotten older as the first generation of gamers got older. They got busier, and the time they have to sit down and play a game like God of War is diminished. And they will do it for a game that is as good as God of War. But like, if I can't be guaranteed to get that level of satisfaction, then I'm not even going to try a lot of the time. So Microsoft has to cater for every single need with Game Pass. They have to cater for people who want that content. They have to cater for people who want brain dead grinding like me. I love brain dead grinding. Give me more of that. And, you know, survival games and games that aren't so heavy on story that you have to pay so much attention to them, or sports games or racing games and like quirky indie games, you know. I think Microsoft wants to have a very broad content spread, and Game Pass will help bring that back. That's why they bought Ninja Theory. They bought Ninja Theory to make those games, the single player narrative games. That's the whole point of buying that dev for Game Pass, you know. So
well, yeah, I mean, I like Spider-Man and God of War being in a subscription service like Game Pass. I mean, like, I don't think that diminishes the impact of those games, because now you're transitioning people to subscribe to a service, and if they're that good, then they're going to subscribe to the service.
It's helped. Again, it's not completely the same, but like Netflix has some amazing quality narrative content. You know, like the whole culture behind binge watching. If the show wasn't great, you wouldn't sit there and watch the whole thing in one sitting. Like
that's true.
And that's another thing. That's another reason streaming gives us, streaming and TiVo and stuff like that, gives us something that old school cable TV doesn't. It lets you fit the show around your life. You can sit there, if you got a day off, you can sit there and watch a whole series. But if that series was on at times where you were busy or working, or you know, you had to put the kids to bed and then you missed it and stuff like that, that's why Netflix is growing. It's because it's more flexible. It's going where people are. And as long as the demand is there for those sorts of games, Microsoft will cater for them with Game Pass eventually. It's going to take time, and it's required a change in Microsoft's thinking, because before the thinking was we need to maximize profit margin as much as possible, which is why we've got these microtransactions, why we're going for service-driven games only with multiplayer to try and entice people in, you know, loot boxes and blah blah blah. But the game has changed now. I mean, it's because of Game Pass. You know, they've got an alternative revenue stream, and it's going to be interesting to see the way it evolves over the years. But I don't know. Them's the ropes, man.
Them's the ropes.
Brah.
Them's the ropes. And I think that's the last question, at least that I can see here, available. So I don't know. We're gonna end the show, but I ask you to do me one favor, and that's hit the like button, because I didn't even segue at all. Hitting the.
You did?
I didn't say hit the like button at all.
Oh, I thought you meant segue in general.
No, I mean segue into like one of those things where I say, "Hey, hit the like button." So it's the end of the show. If you enjoyed the podcast, hit the like button, subscribe. Make sure you follow Jez on Twitter, because what are you doing the rest of the week, Jezzy?
What am I doing next week? I can't remember. I'm gonna be doing boring stuff. Don't expect anything cool from me next week.
Yeah, maybe
I'm doing Gamescom prep.
Yeah, we're gonna do a Gamescom prediction thing next week. Maybe prediction they ain't gonna have nothing. There you go. Show. I don't care about anything because I get to see Cyberpunk at you can talk about that. You can talk about that. So make sure you follow Jez on Twitter. Make sure you give him shit on Twitter about his thoughts about the PlayStation Spider-Man console.
Oh God, please don't.
And you maybe you get enough, you can get him into another Twitter moment where you have to delete his tweet again.
No, that was about Google.
I know. Shout out to Eternal Shaddai. He wants to know: will Heavenly Sword 2 be on Xbox? No, Sony owns that IP. So that definitely did not come with the buying of Ninja Theory. In fact, I think the only thing they got from that is Hellblade, because Enslaved was published by Bandai Namco. Devil May Cry is owned by Capcom.
Are you telling me they didn't get Disney Infinity?
And yeah, they definitely didn't get Disney Infinity. So thanks to you guys for all the support, for showing up here live on YouTube. We'll have this out on the Google Play and iTunes in probably a couple days, probably on Saturday, normally 2 days after we do the show. We appreciate everybody here watching and chatting with us, and everybody who gave the podcast a like or a dislike. Make sure you leave your comments in the comment section. Tell us what you thought about the show, and we'll see everybody next week. And hopefully we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. So have a good one, guys, and we'll see you soon. Later.